Mended light.
Mended light. You should be friends with your kids. This is that therapists say. This is good advice. Should you be friends with your kids?
You don't want to be friends with your kids?
I don't even like kids. Bah humbug.
What kind of monster are you?
A cookie monster. So I often hear people say that I want to be my kids' friends. I want them to know that they can rely on me, that I'm there for them like a good friend is. We enjoy each other. We have fun together. We're friends. And other people say, no, you are a parent. You are not their friend. And is that all there is to this? Or what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's talking about the difference between responsibilities, right? What is your... I look at children as a stewardship, right?
Yeah.
Not an ownership, but it's like you are my stewardship. I am supposed to teach you. I'm supposed to raise you. I'm supposed to, give you the opportunity to learn all the things you need to learn to become a healthy, well-functioning adult. And I phrased it that way very specifically. It's my responsibility to give you the opportunity, because we all have agency. Children have agency. And so what they choose to do with those opportunities is up to them.
Right.
And you talk about those dynamics. I don't have those same responsibilities towards my friends.
Yeah.
It's not my responsibility to teach them, character and morals and how to be...
And to prepare them for adulthood. And
Yeah. You can absolutely have a meaningful friendship with your children, but the point of your relationship is not to be friends with them. There's so much more responsibility than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's various ways of looking at this, but I think it comes down to how do we define friendship. If you think of friendship as I'm there for you, I care about you, I enjoy spending time with you, we have good times together, we're absolutely friends with our kids. They're our little buddies. But so I look like an umbrella of friendship, and it's not about parent versus friend, it's about parent versus peer. Like, it's all under the umbrella of friendship. I am friends with my kids, but I am a parent friend. I'm not a peer friend. Because with my friends, I don't pay for their life. Right? I don't put them to bed, make sure they brush their teeth.
Yeah.
I don't make sure that they understand right from wrong. I don't help my friends with their homework. Now in school, I mean, maybe there's some of that, but you take my meaning. Like, with a peer relationship, it's different. And where this gets murky and where there are problems, I think, is when parents think, well, I want to be my kids' friends, but then they treat their kids like peers. And yes, you do want to respect that agency. You do want to respect, the growing intellect and decision-making power of a child. But at the same time, until they're an adult and they're on their own and they're paying for their own life and they're taking care of themselves, your responsibility is to make sure they're clothed, to make sure that they're fed, to make sure that they're taught.
Yeah.
And to make sure that there are rules and consequences enforced so that they learn how the world works. And I don't have that with my peers. And if I try and treat my kids like that, like we're equals and we have equal say in everything and they get to have final decision-making power on everything, what happens is I get walked on by people who don't have the maturity or experience to make those calls.
Right. Well, and you've given them a responsibility and the power to make a decision that they haven't earned.
Yeah.
Right? And
they're not there yet.
That's an injustice that we do, is to give responsibility or power to a child that isn't equivalent to their development stage.
Yeah. Well, and the fact is, like, they need a balance of authority. Someone who's an authority figure in their life, even though we often rebel against authority figures, like, they need that in their life balanced with respect and love. And if you ever see the movie Mean Girls, right? And Regina's mom tries to be friends with all the girls and her daughter doesn't respect her. And her daughter treats her poorly. Now, this is a comedy and it's dictated by screenwriting, but that dynamic shows up in real life.
Right.
When parents don't know how to enforce. My parents told me there were several things growing up that I was upset with them. And I realize now as a parent, if you're doing it right, your kids are going to be mad at you sometimes.
Some of the time, yeah.
Make sure they're not mad at you because you're hurtful or cruel to them, or that they're not mad at you because of injustice. Make sure they're mad at you because you're holding them to a standard and you've got choices with consequences and you're following through on the consequences.
Yeah, and so my question would be, what is the purpose of your relationship with your child? Like, what is your intent? Because if you're
indentured servitude.
Absolutely.
Mine, not theirs.
If your purpose in your relationship with your child is to get your own needs met and to be well liked and to be accepted, like there's an imbalance there.
Yeah.
Right? And if that's the goal, conscious or not conscious or subconscious, like you are going to make those choices like the mean girl's parent did.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And that's not healthy. Like that's not a healthy dynamic for the child. And frankly, it's not healthy for you either because it's creating a codependent relationship.
Yeah.
And to ask yourself, is the focus of that relationship to be well liked, to be accepted, to find belonging? Once again, we all have those human needs, but that's not where you find that.
That's a
in
really
the
good point.
relationship with your child.
But
isn't
people
where you
seek that
find
from their kids. They want their kids to be the ones who give them approval, their kids to be the ones who tell them their worth.
Yeah.
And so they bend over backwards to please the kids. And then the kids learn, oh, my parents' job is to do whatever I want them to do. And if I'm unhappy, it's their fault. And then that just goes into this really unhealthy place.
Right. And however much we like it or don't like it, those dynamics that we have with our parents, those are the first relationships we typically have in life, you know, and siblings, right?
Yeah.
But the relationships with the parent and then with our siblings are similar. And so you have this dynamic that's not healthy and it's not serving the parent and it's not serving the child. And then the child goes out into the world not knowing how to create healthy relationships with other people because they didn't have a healthy relationship with their parent, you know, because a friend isn't going to do all those things.
Right. So here's a question. Is there a time for being mean?
Well, I don't think the intent should ever be to be mean.
Yeah.
But the intent shouldn't be to be nice either. Like the intent should be to nurture and love and support the child.
Yeah.
And so this is the question I ask myself, right? Because my number one priority as a parent is to love them. Now, that might be a little unclear because sometimes people think, oh, well, if I'm trying to just love them, then I'm doing the nice thing.
Yeah.
Then I'm doing the kind thing. Then I'm not having the hard conversations. But true love, real love, isn't avoiding those hard conversations. It isn't letting a person in the relationship just do whatever they want. Real love is holding someone accountable and saying, hey, you made a poor choice here, and I still love you. And here's the consequences of that choice.
Yeah.
And showing love that's not based on approval of behavior, because it's so easy to show love to someone who, parent-child relationship, it's so easy to show love to someone who gets good grades in school and is nice to their siblings.
Yeah.
And just, you know, toes the line and does what they're supposed to. If you're showing love because they do what you want them to do, that's not actually loving the person. That's loving their behavior. I know that sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but it's really important to differentiate, right? Because we might say, oh no, my child knows that I love them. And no, I still show them love. But when we're only showing them love when it's easy to love them, that's not the message the child is getting. And so I've had so many hard conversations with my kids, and I'm sure I have so many more ahead of me, but especially in those teenage years, when my oldest is being awful at times, you know, and mean and provoking his siblings. The conversation I've always had with my kids their entire life is that I love them, right? And I say it when they're being kind and they're being considerate and they're being loving, and I say it when they're being
not especially lovable and
unkind and unloving and inconsiderate. Like I say it at both times, and I do my best to communicate that. And so a question I've always asked my kids from the time they're little is, who loves you? And and they say, you do. And I say, who's always going to love you? And they say, you will. And I say, no matter what. And they say, no matter what. And so because I've had those conversations with my kids their entire life, the conversations that I've had with my oldest teenager, you know, those hard conversations, you know, I have them with him. And then I say to him, you know, why am I having this conversation with you? Like, why is this important? And he says, because you love me. And I said, and no matter what am I always going to do? And he's like, you're always going to love me. And so even though we have a different opinion, and even though he's showing up with all the attitude and lack of empathy and superiority that teenagers show up with sometimes, I make it super clear that that's why I'm having the conversation with him. And I even had a conversation with him one time because he was just being mean to be mean, and he'd been doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
And I asked him, why are you doing this? Like, this is not who you are. This is not who I raised you to be. You are better than this. And if something is going on in your life that's causing you to feel like crap, you know, like a terrible person, I would like to know what's going on for you, and I would like to help you. Like, if there's a person in your life that's treating you this way, I want to help you. But if you're showing up in your life this way because you feel poorly about decisions that you are making, I'm like, you don't get to treat people this way. And then I told him we were going to be doing hours of service projects every week until he created more empathy.
If you're doing it right, they're going to be mad at you sometimes. He wasn't thrilled about the service projects, but it was exactly what he needed.
And just because you maybe haven't had those conversations from the beginning, like,
Start now.
Yeah, now's the time to start. Like the old Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. So start planting those trees.
And if you've been too much of a peer or a buddy to your kids, and now they kind of walk on you, you could very deliberately, very specifically say, here's the new way we're going to do things, here's why. And you can expect that for a while you're going to get pushback. Then they're not going to like it. That doesn't mean you're doing the wrong thing. Quite the opposite. So it's not about being mean. It's about being firm. It's about being clear and following through. So if you've enjoyed this Therapists Say, we got another one for you, which is I can't help you. Can you imagine going to a therapist and they're just like,
can't be helped.
Can't be helped. I can't do it. Is that
SOL.
SOL? Wow. So check out our response to that right here. What do you think about parenting versus peers versus friendship? Where do you fall on this whole debate? Let us know in the comments below. And what terrible advice have you gotten from a therapist that you want us to react and respond to? Let us know in the comments below. As always, keep shining because we need your light. And there's the video. Do it. Do it now. Click on it right now. Do it. Click on it.